Where it go?
We're going.
Episode 9. We're going to call this one Ground Control to Terminal Dark, which talks about our experience at the airport a couple days ago.
You had it a lot rougher than I did, but...
Yeah, it wasn't horribly rough, but it was just... it was something to be had. We'll talk about that in a second, but the first thing I want to talk about, this episode is going to have a lot of sports. Can you hear me?
Sporty sport? I can, but I was just going to say, Chris Steiners, and I am Darren Benjamin.
Darren Benjamin.
Is Vegas Day Drinkers episode
9. Coming at you. To the territory, I get wicked. Yeah, but let's talk sports real quick. Obviously, it's Super Bowl week, so if you're on the social channels, everyone out there is posting about where to watch the big game in Las Vegas. Everyone has our curated things, and if you just go Google, top 10 places to watch the game, most are the same. So let's just bring this up because I'm going to use another marketing strategy to broadcast more to other channels. First up, what's one of the ones you like, Darren?
Which one team do I like, or spot?
One of the spot. I mean, what?
Oh,
I mean, what is your top 5?
So I would say if I was going to go watch the game somewhere, I'd say obviously the Westgate. Mm-hmm. It's classic. It's old Vegas. They have a great little food spot in there. But then obviously if you want to go to Circa or Resorts, or the Wynn actually has a really cool sports book.
Yeah, I mean, obviously right off the bat, you've talked about two of the biggest. Westgate, their tickets start at $275 for an open buffet and an open bar. Now, throughout the season, don't forget their delicious discounted hot dogs, and also it has a raffle. Circus Stadium Swim has tickets beginning at $125, so I don't know what that means as far as how high it can go.
That's crazy.
Honestly, anything on Fremont Street or the Strip, really, there's not going to be a per se value proposition.
I know.
How many hot dogs can you eat for $325?
Hopefully they're covered in caviar.
Yeah.
I do know. I was going to say, I forgot to mention, I do know that a lot of the big suites, like at Caesars, like the Hangover Suite, they host parties up in those as well. So those would be catered. They'd be pretty awesome to hang out in, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's endless options as the city has evolved, as the bars have evolved, as the casinos have evolved. They've all kind of encompassed these package. Now, I've never seen the economics of if they work out or not, if it's a lost leader for the casinos like buffets used to be, or if they truly, again, they probably lose on the booze.
Well, I think with Super Bowl, betting goes hand in hand, gambling goes hand in hand with that.
Sure.
Value proposition there, it may translate into more table games and more gambling.
And we'll talk more about that in a second. But you also have like you have the Plaza downtown, which is doing $130 all you can eat, and then a bucket of beers.
Speaking of Plaza, you and I need to try to get tickets to that Oscar Goodman dinner.
That'd be nice.
Wouldn't it be fun?
Yeah,
to go?
Absolutely. Off strip, we have the Georgia Durango. They're doing $250 for a food and beverage package. That's the kind of adjacent sports bar to the sports book at the new Durango station. That's just only a year old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And if you go ask for Lori, she's an old friend of mine. She's a server there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lori was a friend of yours. It's almost like a parody of a riff of a Killer song.
Is a friend of mine.
Okay. Brew Dogs on the Strip across the street from Park MGM, 3-story level, great patio on the third deck, so you can get a great panoramic picture. Not to be confused with Blue Ox. Correct. Not quite the same experience.
No, definitely 100%.
$320 open bar, stadium style buffet. You pick what level you want to be on. Most people that go in there. Have you been there?
No.
Brew Dogs.
Had their wonderful Christmas beer last year.
That's right.
The National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation beer.
Their collab with that. So, Scottish company, I believe, that is trying to do the Hard Rock model where they go into major markets in the country, but with where the new world beers have become or infiltrated the old world beers. So they're just trying to take their interpretation of new world beers and bring it back over to us. So did Elvis make the Beatles? Did the Beatles make Elvis? Or did Chuck Berry start it all? Who knows? It's just kind of that tit and tat back and forth across the Atlantic.
It's the monks. It all goes back to the monks.
Yes. I mean, if you can't have a beanie cap, I don't know. What else we have? Hofbrauhaus, a place that I'm quite familiar with, has a $185 all-you-can-eat schnitzel package because what says Super Bowl like eating as much schnitzel as you can? No, it's all the German food, and apparently it's an open bar too. I don't know if that includes the beers, which with what a liter costs now, I mean, that might be a value alone.
Yeah, well, you would drink your worth in that easily.
Right. I mean, ein Prosit, Gemütlichkeit.
What the hell did you just say?
A pleasing time, a cheers in pleasing time, basically is what it means.
Nice.
So raising the big Stein, the Maß of beer.
Coming soon, the episode of Vegas Day Drinkers where we talk about Chris's time in Germany.
Brought to you by Knight Rider and David Hasselhoff.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a lot of the Strip and Fremont stuff street. We do have, I've mentioned before, I worked at Steiners on South Las Vegas Boulevard. I reached out to Roger today. All their packages at all 3 locations are already sold out. I was trying to get real time. I want to say it's maybe 125. I want to say more closer to 150 now, but it used to be an open bar and open like food package, which was a pretty phenomenal deal. When I started there years ago, it was $99, and you could eat that and lamb chops in 3 minutes. They have removed a few of the food items, more of the premium food items, and more of the high-end premium liquors, but fundamentally the value's still there. I reached out to our friend Andrew at Whiskey. Also, they're doing a promotion at their bar where they have, I think they're calling it the Tailgater package, which is $65 all you can drink for select well liquors, select beers, select seltzers. If you want to add $10 more to the touchdown package, it gives you all your draft selections, more premium liquors. So it's
kind of like a tiered package.
More all you can access.
Thank you, Netflix, for making everything tiered.
Yeah, 65 or 75, and then they have a wing platter for 45. I don't know how many wings that includes, or a tender platter for 35. So that's that. And then, like I said, you had Steiner's. That's a lot of the Super Bowl sports talk. Obviously, they say there's going to be about $100 million wagered here this weekend, in between all the sports books and the
I wonder
action.
what the wager would be if there was not legalized gambling everywhere else now.
Too soon to call.
Do you think it'd be? Well, do you think it'd be? So you said 100 million?
100 million
here in town.
Yes.
So imagine all the sporting apps, what they're going to be making around the world.
It's kind of funny because a buddy just texted me, fuck Vegas, I have DraftKings, and it's probably something to talk about future Vegas economics.
Well, that's what we've already talked about. We're moving to a city of entertainment, not gambling.
Right, correct.
And that's, the prices on everything shows that.
Yeah. But obviously, again, it is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles in New Orleans. We're a few days away as we record this on Wednesday the 5th. We're 4 days away.
4 days till the Chiefs beat the Philadelphia Eagles.
Fingers crossed, quiet confidence. Let's also talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. Are currently on a away series. They were playing the Rangers and then the Islanders with in between nights off, and they are not faring too well in the beginning of their road trip.
And that seems to be the trend. I mean,
yeah, they had a bad January. February's not looking so bright so far, but hopefully they can get it back together.
We'd rather do it in mid-season than at the end of the season, right?
This is true. Yeah, get out the kinks now.
As they do, and as they have done for the last couple of years for the most part.
Right. Yeah, we got to get to a game.
Yes.
What else?
It's kind of hard.
Asia Wilson of Las Vegas Aces, a 3-time WNBA MVP and 2-time WNBA champion. They retired her jersey at her alumni at the South Carolina Gamecocks this past weekend.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I believe 22 was her number. If I'm erroneous with that, please correct me on social media and call me a jackass.
I have no idea how many numbers they've retired in WNBA. Do you know?
Well, that was for her college career, so she's still playing.
So they haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's like the Rebecca Lobos of the world and Lisa Leslie's and stuff like that that played were that first iteration. I didn't do the due diligence on that, but I know just as we're here local talking about Las Vegas things, they did as a previous Gamecock and one of the top performing women's programs in the nation. They did that this past weekend.
You say that kind of dirty, Chris.
Gamecock.
So does that move into the big NBA trade this week?
That's a very good point. Yeah, Luka and Anthony Davis on the move. I think we were sitting at the new Flowing Tide on Saturday night, and just on the ESPN ticker, it was Luka is going to the Lakers and AD is going to the Dallas. And my literal jaw dropped. I'm like, what the fuck?
Now, why is that a big deal? Like, I kind of know why, but we talked about it previously. But I have my take on it.
And I mean, the NBA trade line is coming up. So obviously there's going to be deals that are starting to happen. I think today I saw that Chris Middleton of the Bucks went to somewhere for somebody else, and that sounded like the most unintelligible thing I could ever say. But the big thing with Luka and AD
Wait till I open my mouth.
but it was fun. There was no draft picks involved. It was pretty much a straight for straight trade. I mean, you have Anthony, who is 31 or 32 and kind of prone to injury. Luka has been out since December, and they're saying that he is enjoying his time with the Tex-Mex. Which is he's put on some pounds, but LeBron is supposedly good at getting guys whipped into mental shape and physical shape. They had a bunch of hootenanny on sports media today. I didn't get to really see too much about it, but the component that I think that you're leading to too is why Mark Cuban sold the majority share of the Mavericks 3 years ago to the Adelson family, who obviously operate the Venetian here in Las Vegas.
Well, obviously, you just said it. They want to move to the best sports city in the world probably right now.
Well, it's a leverage move. It's a power move. It's a brokerage move, right? Because Mark wants he wants the proficiency of the Adelson family with the working with the state legislature and getting gambling approved in one of the largest markets in the country that doesn't currently have it.
Exactly.
But still have a percentage of it. So obviously he's a smart enough guy, in my opinion, to know what his strong suits are. And so he sold the percentage with the hope that they can come in with all their special...
And not even to be political, but like Adelson's a huge Republican donor. Our governor's a Republican, mayor's Republican. I'm sure they're going to figure out a way to make it work.
Well, where a lot of this comes from, in my knowledge base, is watching Jason Whitlock on YouTube a couple of days ago, and it's like they're moving into the Austin market, and all their special interest groups is trying to get this approved, and they're just running into roadblocks. And it sounds like Mrs. Adelson, who doesn't give a fuck about basketball, said, if you're not going to approve gambling in the state, then I'm going to take something that you guys love, and I'm, one way or the other, I'm going to take it from you.
It sounds vicious.
It sounds very vicious. So, okay, well, we'll take your most beloved player that's been with you for 5 or 6 years now, and we'll basically discount him for nothing and move him to one of the most prolific teams in the NBA.
So they're just trying to strip the team down for parts and then move them on.
Yeah, then nobody's happy about it. I mean, I think I read that. The day that it was announced, the official Dallas Mavericks page on Instagram lost 700,000 followers on Instagram. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's minutia.
Well, in the long run, we know what'll happen is that. My understanding though was that we were always going to get an expansion team because of the Seattle Supersonics. Speaking of fans that were bitter. Seattle Supersonics was supposed to get a team, and Las Vegas was supposed to get an expansion team. So, that was my understanding.
But Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, said that the next two teams in line for an expansion team were Vegas and Seattle. Which may still be in play, but maybe this is a power broker move.
When you have the number one sports city in the world, you want to go there because you're going to make money. Obviously.
Right. Which subsequently, I think I read since Mark Davis moved the Raiders here 5 years ago now, that one of the most less than billionaires, or one of the, not the lack of wealth, has fundamentally turned the Las Vegas Raiders into an evaluation of $6 or $7 billion, up from like 1 or 2 when they were in Oakland. So if he decided to sell tomorrow, and I think I read this week too that he did sell a minority percentage, a little bit more. So now Tom Brady's on board, and there's another group. So I don't know what he's doing with his
why not sell portions of your team and make a crap load of money?
Yeah.
Billionaire's gonna billionaire.
Pays for better haircuts.
That's right. Oh man, that guy's got it bad.
Yeah. So that's a lot of the sports. I did read just when I was doing some quick research this morning, new stuff coming up on the Strip. Victor Dre of Dre's nightclub fame, that is at the Cromwell, is starting a new high tea service with a double-decker bus that started today, actually, from my understanding.
Interesting. So
for $99, you sit on a double-decker bus. I would assume one that much replicates one of the famous London Reds, and have various tea with crumpets and scones,
cucumber sandwiches.
There we go.
And tea driving down the strip.
Driving down the strip.
Interesting.
Yeah, and which goes back again to what we've talked about in the streets, on the bar tops and whatever. Is like Vegas is evolving for these experiences, and as we all kind of whittle out our existence here for the 44 million people that come, I mean, I guess there's a call for that, right?
There's experiences. You can have any type of experience in this town, just about.
Yeah. Just
about. And some of them just outside of town.
This is true.
Yes.
This is true. We wanted to get this out midweek because we're trying to get more on a format and a template of getting this published midweek, so it was before the weekend, because that's obviously where most of the traffic drives. This isn't fundamentally for tourists. This is for everybody. We do sip, socialize, shine. Darren and I did check out the new Flow and Tide on 215 Rainbow a couple nights ago. Your thoughts?
Flowy. It kind of takes you back to the old pubs of yore, like one of the pubs that I used to hang out with, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the story of the week. But yeah, it's inviting. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. I know that group. They are very aggressive. And they are opening a lot of bars in town. I think what they say they wanted to have, what'd you say, 9 or something like that?
I think between Reno and here, this one was pub number 13. So I want to say they have 7 up there and currently have 6 here.
Yeah.
They did open one over in the Henderson area like less than a month ago around American Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
It's your neighborhood bar. It's your neighborhood sports bar. It's your big bag of Cisco chicken tenders and burgers. I mean, obviously they have some nuance to a couple items.
I mean, I don't want to sound shilly, but it's just more corporate BS to me. The new bars that just opened up. I haven't been to 76.
Okay.
Which is Station Casinos. Flow and Tide is owned by a bunch of lawyers, a bunch of friends that went to college together.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. It's just another PTs to me, to be honest with you, just with a nautical theme.
Yeah, I mean, and one of those standout points of this podcast and what we try and do is be real about it. I mean, is it amazing? No. Is it horrible? No. Is it middle of the road? Yeah. But if you're 2 blocks from home and want a cold beer and a friendly face.
Now, I will say I'm not trying to be like a complete Debbie Downer, but a lot of these places, what really makes them is the staff. And if you hire good people and that's what builds your company. So, a lot of these owners are like, oh, I can make a monkey a bartender, but the reality is you really have to have good people, and they will bring it to you.
And it's funny you said that, because I had a good conversation with a friend I haven't talked to in a minute yesterday, and he was kind of jumping my shit, but then we circled around for it, and he said to me today, and he said it before, and this is local, but here's the best test for a gaming bartender to see if they're good at their job: true hospitality. Sit at the section and the seat that doesn't have a machine, order water and food, see what type of service you will get. And his percentage is 75% will fail and treat you like a leper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I can't say that I'm not guilty of it. People are inclined to judge people automatically. And I've been proven wrong myself many times. I've waited on people that I thought, oh my gosh, I'm like lucky to get $1 off these people. And then I get $100 off these people. And you're like, and then you just learn. You're like, you got to treat everybody the same. And you got to be on top of it. But again, it's really hard to not be judgmental of today's world, it just happens. So you fall into those traps, but the real important thing, I think, is just to recognize it. And when you do fall into it, say, hey, I gotta not do that, and I gotta be better.
Well, then to go down a deep dive a little bit and not besmirching any, corporation or individual bar owner or operations management, GM, AGM alone, is, I say that to the staff that I work with quite often at the airport. It's Vegas. You never know who's sitting in front of you,
Yeah.
And the person you think is a dime bag douchebag could be the millionaire,
Well, the story
glory bag.
The story I tell you all the time is that like I work at the airport and I just work at a bar cart basically, but I get people tell me, oh, you must not get a lot of good people because a lot of the flights are like smaller towns, rural towns, and I say they're all great people, and it's crazy because it's a budget airline that I work around, and I'll see people walk up with $100,000 Rolexes on their wrist. And, it's just you never know. Exactly. Like you said, you never know who you're going to get.
Yeah. I had a guy came back from break last night and sitting there and he had, I think, a double kettle soda. And then the girl next to him got an espresso martini, said that was very good. And then the other bartender that, was covering my quote unquote break, he goes, will you make it this way? I was like, I'll make it any way you want. I go, but I can do the original 1983 Dick Bratzel method. And I explained it to him, and then he was kind of like...
That's the Kate Moss one?
Yes.
Yes, gotcha.
And so he was just kind of set back and mesmerized. Now, he ended up being an executive for Station Properties and tipped me quite graciously. But again, that guy didn't know me from Adam, and it can happen time and time again. But I think one of the underlying things that we talk about here is... hospitality as we know it is transitioning.
Sip, socialize, shine.
Sip, socialize, shine. It's transitioning, and the same person that talked to me about sit at a non-gaming revenue chair and order food with a water.
I would never do that though. I could never.
Well, no, and everybody's different strokes, different folks.
Yeah.
Call me Albert Drummond.
Yeah, and just to go in somewhere just to judge somebody, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I could not do that. But I guess if you're looking for a potential employee or somebody that you want to deal with, it might be a way to find out what you're going to get.
But referencing Steven, and he and I have talked about this before, and I've talked about to other industry professionals about this, and again, we all know fundamentally that alcohol is not good for us long term, but it's so
good for us all the time.
It's especially with unwarranted amounts of Jaeger cold brew at said place. But as we get older, as we age, but it is social lubrication, loose lips sink ships. We all know the phrases. He and I have talked about that, alcohol is dying. It's kind of becoming the new cigarette, the Gen Z. And this isn't, again, we're not targeting we're not baby boomers, Generation X, whatever. It's just things change. And, Generation X does not drink. They don't gamble.
Well, they most certainly do. It's just the numbers are down.
Yeah, they don't spend money. Well, yeah, I mean, as the numbers previous for the couple generations, but they do buy a whole lot more of cannabis and sit there at the bar and maybe have a drink over a couple hours.
I noticed a trend like 15 years ago where they would come up and they would just immediately ask what's on special, and they would order that just because it's the cheapest thing we had.
Yeah,
and that I think is more along the trend of shit's too goddamn expensive. Rent's expensive. Most people are spending over 50% of their income on rent. So
yeah, and there's a lot of people in Vegas right now talking about how gaming revenue on the Strip has been down for 5 consecutive months, and they're making moves within the MGM Corporation to remove leadership and executive positions.
Yeah.
But again, the old Vegas mindset of, we're going to give you food for cheap and hope that you come in for the value of that. And, look at that magical machine that could pay me money over there.
That changed because I'm not a business major. This is just what I've heard. That came from the Disneyfication of Las Vegas, where Disney had a very, every department in Disney has to make money, every single one. So Vegas took that approach because Disney's a very successful company. And they said, hey, everybody has to have positive numbers. So you see them making decisions like, that will close a bar because the labor's too high or they don't have big enough sales. But in Vegas, if you have one big gamer, if you have a whale comes into that bar, it'll pay everything for that bar for the night. You know what I mean? But they don't look at it that way. They look at it individually, like the bartender's labor, the liquor cost, and all that. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I think I read somebody's quote in a tweet the other day. The bean counters in the corporation that are just looking at the spreadsheets aren't paying the increased insurance rates on our car vehicles that are going up. Everything in Vegas has become. We talk about this quite a bit too. Like guests that you see at the airport that I see at the airport, where it's become like from the time they land to the time they deplane to the time they board again, that they're just getting shaken down. And the visitor that would want to come, 2-3 times a year, it's like, you know what, once a month's okay, or once a year, excuse me.
Once a year, yeah, that's supposed to.
But
I think they've figured it out. Obviously, that it's like a 3-year journey for most people. That's why the strip is always changing. They know that the average person is going to come once every 3 years, so they want a new experience every 3 years. That's an average, not. There's regulars. Obviously, there's people that live closer that come a lot more, but that's I think that's what I've heard that they actually know and do.
But as I've always said, sometimes you have to read between the lines of the spreadsheet and actually be a human and get a sense of what's really going on.
Easy for you to say, but if you work for a corporation, it's just simply numbers. There's no emotion into it. It's just simply like profit over everything.
Of course,
Yeah.
But, us that are down there in the streets and can report to you real-time information as we stream on Facebook.
Yeah. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
So back to day drinking.
Yes.
Or do we have any more subjects to work on?
All we really have to talk about left is episode 3 of Cheers, season 1, the Tortelli Tort. But day drinking. Let's go.
So let me. Can I tell my little story, or should we go out on that?
No, of course.
So, story of the week. It's my turn. So
nostalgia throwback. Things we've heard.
So in watching Cheers, and we'll transition into the review, but. My local where I grew up, it was called the Yard Arm, and it was a pub, and not a very good pub, but it was just called a pub. They had really good food, really cool bartenders, but I was a regular there. I was like a norm. So when I walked in the door when I got off work at night, people would be like, "Hey, Darren," So one day I get there, and this guy is in the parking lot, like yelling at his girlfriend, and I see him push her. And I'm like, "Hey, pal, you probably shouldn't be doing that here in the parking lot." And he's like, "What the fuck are you going to do about it?" He's like, "You need to mind your own business." And I'm like, "Just letting you know, not a good idea." So I go in. I started walking into the pub. This guy literally pushed me in through the door. So it looked like a scene out of a movie. And we had a little malfunction there. It looked like a scene out of the movie. I must have stumbled into the door because everybody got up and they're like, "Darren, what's up?" And I was like, this guy's like beating up his wife in the parking lot. And they're like, "Really?" And then a bunch of my friends got up. They're like, "Dennis, get Darren a drink and just relax and we'll take care of this." So they, like 5 of them walked out there with the guy, and I think they roughed him up a little bit. But the cops came in like about half hour later. And they're like, "Did you guys rough up this guy?" And they're like, "Nope, but he was pushing his wife around in the parking lot." And they're like, "All right, you guys have a good night." But it was just one of those moments that, for me, it just kind of stuck with me my whole life, and it was like that fun, like cheery place, and everybody knew everybody in there. Like if I had a really good night at work, I would literally go in and be like, "Hey, Dennis, surround on me," and there wouldn't be a lot of people in there, but it'd be 20 people or so. And he was super nice. He'd charge me like $5 a drink. So it only cost me $100 and I throw him 20. And then we'd continue and have a good time.
Right. Which is a good segue into the Tortelli Tort, which was episode 3 of Cheers, season 1.
Yes.
Where it approaches a very brash New Yorker that was in town at Fenway to watch his Yankees beat the Boston Red Sox.
The Boston Red Sox.
And then kind of haphazardly found his way into Cheers to be over the top, as most Yankee fans can be.
Well, he haphazardly ran into, what's her name?
Carla?
Carla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he found out that you had Sam Mayday Malone, a former, Red Sox pitcher, and then subsequently remembered him, and then was being quite truculent, as a previous episode throwback goes to.
I thought it was a lot of fun. I think these early episodes for me, just Coach just steals the show for me every time. His one-liners, like the box of napkins. What did it say? The steer or the buck stops here.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, they're all different." and then they're looking through the box, and he's like, "Nope, they're all the same." He's like, look. And then, what is it? Norm says, these things are terrible. He's like, look, great conversation starter.
Well, I think I took from the episode because basically he was being negative towards Sam, this Yankees fan, and then subsequently Carla goes and hops on his back and starts slamming his head into the bar top, and he basically threatens to sue the bar if she's not fired.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So as I was watching that takes me back to a time at Steiners so many years ago where we had some guys that would come in that used to work at Center Bar at Mandalay Bay, and for protection purposes, I won't say their names.
Yeah.
But he was a friend of the bar. I knew him. Rhonda knew him. And one of the unfortunately, the thing about gaming bars is people can get their paychecks and lose their money in fast. And one of our bussers at the time did that and was very upset. And then he was screaming because he was pissed off when he walked out the door. Mm-hmm. And said bartender that worked at Mandalay Bay said, "Hey man, respect the place," or whatever. And then he's said Busser was from the East Coast and the bravado of a Philly fan, and yelled back at him, and then he charged him, and then ultimately another Busser who was his friend. So at this point, the bartender from Mandalay Bay now has the Busser that was lost all his money slamming his head against the wood part of the bar, literally wham, wham, wham. And as I'm running from behind the bar, I was telling the other busser, "Don't fucking touch him. Don't touch him because you'll lose your job.
Yeah.
You'll lose your job right now. I can't do anything to protect you. If you touch him, let me deal with it."
Yeah.
So as said bartender from Mandalay Bay, I was like, "James, stop bludgeoning him, please." So.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. But, it's just one of those situations. And that's one of those things. Obviously, you've had more situations than I've had in the past. I mean, I'm not saying by means out of bounds with any of these situations, but this is just one of the things of the industry, right? Shit happens.
It's amazing how things can Carla came back from it and managed to save her job, and some of the things that I did, oh my gosh, I would have been fired at every corporate place I ever worked at, but Brian being who he was, he kind of, he knew the situations could get out of control and stuff like that. But.
Well, and it kind of circles back in a bigger picture here. It's if you just stop and, pull back from the moment and not just live in the spreadsheet and the numbers of, okay, here's the information as it's presented. And you're actually trying to help, Was it done, wrongfully? I don't think so. Your heart was in the right place.
Exactly.
I mean,
so was Carla's.
Yeah, her heart was in the right place.
She was protecting her boss.
Right.
And from this guy that's probably never going to come back to the bar anyway, maybe anytime the Yankees are there, you're going to have to hear about it.
Goddamn Tortelli.
Dang tortellini.
Tortelli. What's your pasta tonight?
I
rigatoni?
Rigatoni.
Okay.
No, I love this, the what was it, Carla and Sam and what's her name? Diane were sitting talking, and she's like, "What are the things that you had in school?" And she's like, "2 things you had in school," and she's like, "blonde hair," and in her yearbook. I'm like, that was hilarious.
That was funny. So,
had a good laugh.
I think that's about it. We're going to wrap this one up.
All right.
Yeah, episode 9 coming to a close. We're going to publish this son of a gun. Get ready for Super Bowl weekend. Who do you like?
You already know who I like.
Yeah,
Taylor Swift.
That's right.
I don't know if I mentioned this. I didn't mention this on the show, but I bet my daughter that if the Chiefs win, Travis Kelce's going to propose to Taylor Swift at the end of the game.
Which is a segue to our not sponsored DraftKings. And if you want to do your prop bets, log in now. No, I'm kidding. But I'm sure I am not a good sports gambler, so I never see the wrong side of a sports book, even though we started this episode talking about it. But I'm sure there's so many prop bets out there right now.
It's ridiculous.
It'll turn you round, baby, round.
Right round, baby. Right round like a record, baby.